Hello and happy holidays. I'm Alexis Del Cid. We're taking the winter holidays to spend some much needed time with our loved ones, and we hope you are as well. Until we return, please enjoy this Encore presentation of all things brain health. Coming up on today's All Things Brain Health, 3 siblings with the same movement disorder, the several years-long journey to find the correct diagnosis, and the life-changing treatment. Good morning, I'm Alexis Del Cid. Welcome to All Things Brain Health. Imagine your body jerking and twitching without warning, and it's completely out of your control. Imagine struggling to write your name, to hold a coffee cup, or to simply sit still in class or at a restaurant, not because you're nervous, but because your muscles won't cooperate. This is the daily reality for people living with myoclonus dystonia. It's also called MD. It's a rare neurological disorder that causes involuntary muscle contractions. It can also come with emotional anguish that will ripple through an entire family. Siblings Angela, Bella, and Anthony are living with this disorder. 2 of them have received a high-tech surgery stimulating their brains, which has allowed them to regain much more control over their lives. Jessica Lovell shows us.
No one quite understands you like a sibling does.
Oh, it's a mocha cocoa. You want me to set it on the table?
Yeah. Especially when you share something rare, like Bella, Anthony, and Angela Diaz.
When I was in kindergarten, I was diagnosed with Tourette syndrome. When I got to high school, I was bullied because I had facial tics.
All 3 were teased and bullied by others for things like hand tremors and tics and sudden movements. It started with the oldest, Anthony.
I have real bad anxiety. It triggers it a lot worse. And so throughout high school, I had just a handful of friends, and I just couldn't branch out to other people because I'm afraid of what people would think about me.
Their mom, Amber, remembers those early years.
About 8 or 9, they said they diagnosed him with Tourette syndrome because his grandmother on his father's side was diagnosed with Tourette's.
Then it was Angela.
When Angela hit about 3, she couldn't get a spoon to her mouth.
But with Bella, Amber knew something was different. She pushed for more answers.
It was awful, and I hated seeing them just not being able to control any of it. But by the time we got to Bella had more of some of the social emotional aspects of the disease. I finally started exploring different neurologists.
For years, the siblings were misunderstood and turns out misdiagnosed. They were told they had Tourette syndrome until finally doctors at Children's Mercy unraveled the mystery and diagnosed them with dystonia, a rare movement disorder that affects part of the brain responsible for motor control and coordination.
It was middle school, and I would be in class and I'd have to sit on my hands to stay still, and that's why I didn't want to go to school. I'd have panic attacks and stuff.
After years of relying on medications to control the tremors and tics, the family was offered a different treatment option called a DBS, a deep brain stimulator. Functional neurosurgeon at the University of Kansas Health System, Dr. Jennifer Chang, performed their procedures. She surgically implanted the DBS device below the skin of the chest and connected the leads to the brain to deliver pulses that control and calm the tremors. The sisters say it has changed everything.
The DBS changed my life, and it made things possible, like carrying a coffee cup without having to twitch and the coffee spilling everywhere.
I want more kids. I mean, this has been the happiest time of my life. This window, just being a mom has changed everything.
But that has not been the case for Anthony. He has yet to get the DBS and still suffers from severe anxiety due to his symptoms.
For right now, it's hard looking for work right now. All I do is pretty much, stay at home because of this condition. It's hard to go out.
Angela worries about her brother. and hopes a DBS is an option for him.
I know there's another life out there that's better for him because he can't keep a job. People will make fun of him, and like, he deserves a better life.
Angela Diaz is in the studio with me this morning. Thank you for taking the time to be here.
Thank you for having me.
We're going to dive into your story in just a moment. We also have functional neurosurgeon Dr. Jennifer Chang right next to me, and we have neurologist Dr. Andrea Lee. Dr. Lee specializes in movement disorders. Now, Angela, your brother was so brave to share his feelings and his journey publicly, and he bared his soul in that interview. You have some really good news about your brother, which is why he's not here today.
Yeah. Yep. Anthony got a job. He's doing like crane manufacturing, so he's doing like small parts, and
Nice.
he just got that job like literally Monday. It took him a long time to find a job, but he finally got one, so I'm really happy for him.
That is great. He's so sweet and deserves happiness, deserves everything. So,
Yeah.
okay, Anthony. And now you and your sister have both gotten the deep brain stimulation surgery. Why has Anthony not done that yet? Is he considering it, or is it that he hasn't qualified for it yet?
He hasn't gotten the surgery yet just because he hasn't had like the right insurance or like the type of, because he, you know, having this condition has put on a lot of like setbacks in life. And so he just hasn't received that right, like the resources for that. And he just doesn't know where to start. Like,
Right.
socially, it's hard for him to go out there and make doctor's appointments to get a referral. And so like, I'm really one of those people that are like, hey, let's just make the appointment, let's get started. And so he finally got the job where now he has that insurance.
Oh, thank
And
goodness.
so I'm telling him, let's get you into like a primary care and get you ready
Yes.
for that. So yeah.
Okay, well, I'd love to follow
Yes, for sure.
Anthony's journey. So please keep us posted on that.
I will.
Now, Dr. Chang, we're going to dive into this treatment in a minute. But first, for our non-medical audience members, which are most of our audience members, can you explain what is a functional neurosurgeon versus a neurosurgeon? You're a functional neurosurgeon.
Yeah, so it's just one of the specialties within neurosurgery, and we deal with a lot of patients who have movement disorders such as dystonia, and the treatments that we do are designed to help them function better. I mean, I guess that is how I would describe it.
Functional neurosurgeon.
Yeah.
How is dystonia diagnosed, and why is it so often misdiagnosed in the early stages? Would that be a Dr. Lee question?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure. I mean, so dystonia means abnormal posturing of a certain limb or body part that can be sustained posturing or even twisting movements. And in the case of Angela and her siblings, they also have myoclonus dystonia, myoclonus being these quick lightning jerk movements. And so dystonia in general is tricky to diagnose because it can mimic other neurological conditions such as tic and Tourette's disorder, which is what happened with Angela. Whereas the difference between tic and Tourette's and dystonia is that with tic and Tourette's, you usually have this urge to want to make the movement, so it's semi-voluntary, and you have a sense of relief after the movement is done. And there is often a lot of underlying ADHD, anxiety, OCD with tic and Tourette's, although there is also with your disorder. And so it can be hard to differentiate, especially in the early stages, because dystonia is much more rare than tic disorder, especially in the pediatric population.
And Angela, you were diagnosed at what age, officially finally getting the correct diagnosis?
Well, I was a junior in high school, so I would say probably 16, 17.
So it took that long.
Yeah, it
for you
took
to
a
get
while.
The right diagnosis.
It took a while. Without Bella getting the genetic testing, I would have probably never known.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Holy smokes. Is it always hereditary?
Dystonia is not always hereditary. Sometimes it can be secondary dystonia, meaning it's from brain injuries such as a stroke or multiple sclerosis, or it can be from trauma or infection. But with other types of dystonia, more generalized dystonia, that is often hereditary.
Angela, you have a fourth sibling, not in the story that we showed at the top of the program, who doesn't have it.
yeah.
What's it like, I wonder, for that sibling to see all her, it's a girl, you have a sister, right?
Yes, Gabby.
So for her to see her brother and her two sisters going through this, was there a fear of her wondering, is it going to happen to me?
Gabby is probably the most strongest person that I know. She is honestly like, every day she's like, seeing you guys go through this is made me stronger. And she's kind of like, I want to say a mini mom, because she's just very like, she takes care of us, and she really is like, you know, when we got made fun of and stuff like that, she'd be there and she'd be like, hey, don't say that to them. Like,
I love
you know,
that.
she's very like strong spoken. But seeing us go through that, yeah, there was a worry, but she's also kind of like, you know, if little things happen, like let's say she has like a little twitch, she'll be like, oh my gosh, she's like, am I getting dystonia?
Right.
And so we're just like, Gabby, like, you're okay. And so she'll just be like freaking out about that. But it is kind of like weird that she doesn't have it, but she also just like, you know, she just lives her life just like everybody else.
Right.
And, you know, having to see us go through surgery, she also is just, you know, it's been kind of like eye-opening to her, kind of like, wow, I'm really fortunate to just, you know, not have to do this yet, or like have to do this right now, because a lot of the dystonia symptoms can be like offset until a certain age. So she might, you know, we don't know until, you know, if she does have symptoms, or until she actually, you know, has them. So it's like,
You guys are a good team.
yeah.
This is a good team. Can you help us understand, doctors, what is happening in the brain at the moment to cause that jerking and twitching?
Well, in your case with the myoclonus dystonia syndrome, it's due to a genetic mutation in the HGCE gene that codes for this protein called epsilon sarcoglycan. And it's not well known what this protein does in physiological roles, but when it becomes dysfunctional, as with this mutation, it affects the parts of the brain that control movement, so in the basal ganglia and the cerebellum. And so it causes the twitching and the dystonic posturing movements.
Do you feel, could it trigger you to have a twitch talking about it? Is it one of those conditions?
It's kind of like, it's kind of hard to explain. So like sometimes, like when I'm talking right now, I'm really stiff. It's just because, you know, I get nervous doing certain things. Like even talking about it, yes, can trigger some of that. But even just like, you know, everyday things can trigger that. So like making a cup of coffee, let's say like on the transfer, like pouring or something like that, like doing movements, like that's when I notice mine a lot, is because it's like, you know, you're doing these things and then I have that jerk. Or like the other day I had like a scratch on my nose. The other day I was itching my nose and then it went and scratched.
Right in the middle of it.
I had, my hands were, you know, itching my nose. Just like simple movements like that. I guess that's like the best way to explain it too. Like, you know.
Your makeup looks flawless, especially your eye makeup. And what I'm getting to is that stressful, putting on your mascara and your eyeliner?
Yes, very. Before I even had my implant, and even now, like sometimes like doing it, sometimes I can poke my eye, but it takes a lot of practice. I don't use my left hand for anything because my left side of my body has it more, but I do still have some in my right side. But like, I've really trained myself. I have like a system to where it like works for me.
Yes.
Might not work for other people, but it works for me. So like, you know, I just kind of adapt to those movements, just like my brother has. You know, you just kind of adapt to
what
like
works
what
for your body.
you. So yeah, so it's, you know.
You also have experienced things called dystonic storms.
Yes.
What happens during a dystonic storm? Some of them have left you hospitalized.
Yes, they're very painful. I remember having my first one when I was like 18, going into college. Sometimes they can be stress-induced. I actually just had one last week because I'm trying out new settings with my DBS, so we have to see what like works the best. And sometimes like my head will be stuck to the side of my neck, and that's kind of like one of my newest ones that I've been having.
So it's a burst of uncontrolled
and or like muscle spasms, you know.
Oh, and your head was just stuck at an angle?
Like that, yeah.
How
and so yeah, it's really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But like one of the best things for me right now is having the implant, because I can just go and make that adjustment, and then over time it'll kind of just correct itself. And so like right now I feel great. So
And you've got that.
yeah.
Actually, Angela brought some props, and I want to show our viewers this, and then we'll get back to asking the doctor's questions. Can you show us what's in the container that you brought, and we'll have you hold it up to that camera.
To that one?
Yes.
Okay. So this is my, how I recharge and how I make adjustments. So basically this right here is where this is how I recharge my battery, because I have a rechargeable battery.
And is that where the incision was in your chest?
Yes.
Okay, so Dr. Chang, you go in through the chest and put in the battery?
Yes, so
And
the battery
keep
is
showing
implanted under the skin
Okay.
of her chest.
So this is how I recharge this battery. So it's rechargeable. The one that I had before wasn't like this. So technology is definitely developing.
So you put that around your shoulders?
Yes, with this. So this is kind of like a countermeasure, right?
Hold it on up to
Counterweight.
Counterweight, yeah.
Okay.
So this is what I use to recharge, and it kind of it has like a beeping noise. And what it does is I put this in the case like this.
So that goes on one side.
Yeah, and then it just kind of goes like this, and it connects to my battery. It's right here, and then my phone. This right here. I have to turn it on. Sorry.
That's okay. So you turn on your phone, and what do you use your phone for?
I use this to, what I use this for is to make adjustments, and then to see like what my battery's at. So like, if it's gonna pull up.
That's okay. Do
Sorry.
you carry this around with you all day?
No, not this big case, but when I do go back to work, I will carry this around with me, because I also carry like a little piece like this with me, just because, you know, if I need to make adjustments at work, or like if there's something going on, like, you know, out of the house, I can do that. You know, I'll have that advantage with me.
How do you fly with that?
I actually had my first ever like flight experience, because they had like during security, like you have to tell them that you have an implant. So it's like, hey, I have an implant, and they have to like search you separately. So you basically have to be like searched separate.
I'm special. I'm going through the other line. Right.
So
right.
that's that. So now that this is on, I can show you a little bit. So it pulls up to like the home screen that says Medtronic, and it slides up. And then this is my recharger application right here.
And hold it up there. Okay. So you press the recharge app.
And then I just connect it. So what it does is it connects to my battery right here with this. I think this is not on. There we go.
Boy, that's interesting.
Yeah, and so it connects. There we go. That means that it's sunk, but now it's still kind of like, you know, buffering on this side. But we wait for this, and then you should see my percentage right now, because I just charge Sundays, so I charge once a week.
Once a week. Okay.
Yes. Oh.
That's really interesting.
So there is my battery. I'm 90%.
Okay.
And so I could be 98%, I could be 97%. It just does intervals of 10. So I don't know what I'm at. Like, this is just 90. It just shows me 90. So I could be sitting here for 20 minutes. I could be at 95, 92.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. So that's that.
Dr. Chang, when it comes to the surgery, I want to ask you about this surgery, the deep brain stimulation. Is it a deep brain stimulation surgery? That's what it's called? Okay. Now, does people ever call it a procedure, or this is a full-on surgery?
Yeah, surgery, procedure, same thing. It's the implantation of the deep brain stimulator device that we're doing in surgery.
Where in her brain did you put the other part?
Okay, so there are 2 electrodes that go into her brain.
Okay.
One for the right side, one for the left side. For dystonia, we stimulate in a deep target called the globus pallidus internus. So we need to place one electrode into the right brain structure called globus pallidus internus, or GPI, and then one into the left one. So she actually has some incisions that are kind of near the front of her head, which is where the 2 electrodes were implanted. And then the other end of the electrodes were brought under the skin and then brought over to connect to the generator, the battery on her chest.
How do you get the electrodes? How do you connect it, where do they, when they go from here to her chest, is it a wire you're kind of moving down? Looking at the screen?
So she has essentially the stimulators that are in the brain are basically two thin wires. So the wires go into the brain, again, from like the frontal area, one on the right and one on the left, and then they're connected to what's called an extension wire, again, just a thin wire. And they were brought from the side of her head, brought under the skin down to here.
So interesting. Does it work for all movement disorders like Parkinson's?
So we use deep brain stimulation for Parkinson's disease, and we use it to treat essential tremor as well. And there are a few different targets in the brain that can be treated. You know, in her case, globus pallidus. And for Parkinson's, there's subthalamic nucleus, which is a different area, and globus pallidus. And then for essential tremor, we treat in the thalamus. So again, a different brain area.
Different area. And Dr. Lee, how do you determine whether a patient is a good candidate for this or not?
Well, after they have exhausted more conservative treatments, such as oral medications or botulinum toxin injections, if the dystonic movements are more focal, we can sometimes treat such as, for example, cervical dystonia. We put botulinum toxin injections, Botox, into people's neck muscles. And then also if they've gone through physical therapy, all the more non-invasive measures we always try first. But if they're refractory to these and it's really limiting their quality of life, then we'll refer them to the neurosurgeon.
And that's what happened with you.
Yeah.
What was the first thing you noticed, the first change you noticed after the surgery?
Oh, wow.
And when?
The first change that I noticed is, again, I'm a coffee drinker. I love to drink coffee, and I could never like drink anything without a lid because it was really hard for me to hold something without a lid.
Right.
And so like I remember my first time ever having like a coffee cup and taking that coffee cup and literally just holding it. And I'm like, this is weird.
A cup of nice hot coffee.
And then another one was, I used to work for a school district, and I was in there helping some kids with some math on the board. And like even when I was in school, they would call me up to do like math problems on the board. I could never hold the marker still, and I could never write on a board because it was always like, you know, squiggly, and I was nervous and it was twitchy. But I could actually write on the board and move swiftly, and I'm like, this is so cool. And now like my handwriting looked different and everything, because it's like, you know, your hands aren't shaking. So it's like, that's one thing that I also noticed with that. Or like turning a page in a book. Like I read my Bible a lot. I'm a person of faith, and so having to read my Bible.
Is that telling you it's done charging?
No, it's.
You can take it off if you want. I don't mean to have it. You don't have to wrap it around you the whole show.
Yeah, this thing likes to beep whenever it comes off the battery.
Okay.
But
so you noticed it in everyday things that so many of us take for granted.
Yeah, because like I would turn the page and like, you know how thin those pages are, and it would like rip, or like even having to like mark something, like it was just yeah.
Could you drive?
So that was one thing that that's one thing that led me to get the surgery in the first place, because right when I started to have a lot of my storms, I had one while driving.
Oh my gosh.
And what happened was my body locked up, and you know, you use your left side for driving a lot. And what happened was my leg, like it completely just started to just feel like I had a Charlie horse in my leg.
Yeah.
And so I got into an accident, and so then I got my driving privileges revoked. My neurologist was like, yeah, no, you can't drive anymore. And
How
so
scary.
now I'm driving now. So that's one of the pluses of having this, is like,
A huge
you know,
plus.
I don't have to worry about having, you know, twitches or anything while driving, or like dystonic storms.
And how long does a dystonic storm last?
Dystonic storms, I don't know. I know from my case, I know that my storms can last from like a few minutes to like a few hours.
Wow. I'm glad you're okay.
Yeah, one of the ones that I had that was a little bit more extreme, I actually had it like last February. It was very painful because it was one where my head was stuck. It lasted like hours.
Oh.
And it took a while for the medicine to kick in and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's when I, you know, just had to make an adjustment and just help that.
We already have some really good questions and comments coming in. If you have some questions or comments coming in that you want us to read out loud on the program, just connect with us in real time on our Facebook page or on our YouTube page. You can find all the links right there on your screen. And we've been talking about those daily emotional challenges that sound so excruciating. We have a question from Jean Reardon. Jean wants to know, will she need to have the battery replaced at some time in the future or the device replaced? Dr. Chang?
So that's a really good question. So as you can see, there's that battery that is implanted in her chest. So she has the rechargeable version of the battery, and that will last for 15 years. So eventually, 15 years later, yeah, we'll replace that. There are people who have a non-rechargeable version, and then it depends on how much power they're using, because everyone, their programs are different. But they last from, 3 to 5 years.
Science moves so quickly, and advancements in the medical field. 15 years ago, when you first started med school, let's just say, would you have dreamed that something like this was possible?
So deep brain stimulation has actually been around for decades.
Has it evolved a lot since then?
There's been significant technological advancements in it, but so when I was in medical school at the beginning, I didn't know about deep brain stimulation, not very much, but we were already using, in the field, people were already using deep brain stimulation for things like tremor and Parkinson's and dystonia as well.
What I'm getting at is in 15 years, you could maybe not even need that big kit.
Right. Yeah. So it would be exciting to see. It will be exciting, and people are continually making advancements. So
we have another question from Carly. Carly, and you just answered it. How new is this procedure? Because it's something that a lot of non-medical people. It sounds so advanced, but it's decades old.
It's now decades old. Yeah, it has been used.
I believe it was first FDA approved in 1999 for treating essential tremor.
Okay. And you were both probably babies in 1999. The doctors are getting younger and younger, right? That's what my mom says when she watches this show. Lin Yang Liang wants to know, are there any limitations or restrictions when we apply DBS to patients with dystonia? Any limitations or restrictions?
Well, just limitations with when you have a deep brain stimulator device implanted, you have to if you have an MRI, if you have a need to get an MRI, these systems are MRI compatible, but you have to let the MRI technologist know. We have to put the MRI, the system into the correct, the deep brain simulator system has to go into the correct mode, and then it has to be checked after the MRI. There's certain limitations like diathermy. You can't have that, which is a medical procedure.
What's diathermy? In lay terms,
I don't know
what
what
is
it's
it?
for, though.
Okay.
I mean, it's
It's something that you can't do. She can't have that.
You can't have that.
Whatever it is.
Yes.
She can't have that. Hopefully you'll never need to know what that is, right?
And then, like just as she mentioned, airport screenings, you just say, I have a medical device. Many people have medical devices.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's even with like games, or like if I go to big Chiefs fans,
Right.
And so if I ever go to a Chiefs game, I have to tell them, hey, I have a device, so they don't think it's something else.
Yeah, if you get wanded, it's going to go off. And
and what's nice is something that I learned about the new airport that they made at KCI, whatever.
MCI.
KCI,
Yeah.
They actually have a separate little machine that you go in if you have an implant. So like
Beautiful.
technology is developing, and it's like really cool because it's like all I had to do was just stand in that, or having to go through like Denver airport. That's where I had to do the wand.
Right.
But like the MCI airport had this really cool like circle, and you just stood in it.
I've seen that.
Yeah. So
Yes. We have it down here.
Yeah.
This conversation is fascinating. I'm so grateful that you have agreed to be so public about this and share your journey, and your siblings as well. For today's takeaways, I want to start with you, Angela. What do you want our viewers to know?
That one thing that I really want people to know is never judge a book by its cover, because you never know what someone's going through mentally or physically. I look like an everyday person, and I've had people literally question if I've ever had dystonia or something like that. Don't question somebody for something that they have, out there I might look like a normal person, but if I'm twitching, just take that for a grain of salt. Don't ever just immediately assume that someone else is on drugs or alcoholic, because that's what my brother goes through, is people look at him like, oh, is he cracked out or something like that, and they're no, he actually has a condition. And it's just have grace for people, because that's what you need.
That is so good. And Dr. Lee, you're nodding your head yes. What do you want our viewers to know?
Dystonia can be hard to recognize and diagnose, but a neurologist who is specially trained in movement disorders, also known as a movement disorder specialist, can help, and there are treatments available.
Dr. Chang?
Yeah, same. I would definitely repeat what Dr. Lee has said. I think I'm really glad that Angela came on the show today because it's just it's a rare disorder that I felt like a lot of people don't know about, and so I agree with what both of you all said. Is just that people have a lot going on. Don't judge. And also, just what Dr. Lee said, just that there are treatments. There's medical treatments, there's medications, there's surgeries, there's ways that we can help.
Thank you, Dr. Chang, Dr. Lee, Angela, thank you for coming on this program. It's very educational.